Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to set the context for this next 15 minutes. This is not going to be a deep session on AI because I think uh, it's too broad to be covered in 15 minutes, and I'm not an expert on that. What I'll try and cover in the next 15 minutes is a very marketing perspective on AI. Maybe tell you a little bit of what we are doing, how we are thinking about this, and and it'll be great if you could make it slightly interactive and ask a few questions. That'll be wonderful. Let me start by first, just putting this thought across that when we today think about AI, you hear two very divergent views. At one end, people think that it's nothing, it's a buzzword, it's a trend, it'll pass away. There's some learnings. On the very extreme end, people think it's existential crisis that AI will take over all jobs, specifically marketing jobs. And yes, and for example, in our own workplaces as well. If you ask people, especially if you ask the content folks, that do you use AI? They'll have trouble in answering that question because they'll think if I have used AI for a content, it's end of my job. On the other hand, you don't want to be sound in saying that no, I don't know what this is all about. The approach that we have taken at Make My Trip is a very middle path. First of all, AI is there to stay. If you've seen the product demos that like Google has shown or many other Silicon Valley companies have shown, what it can do is amazing. There are language-to-language models, there's language-to-video models, there's video-to-word language models. So clearly, over time, what we are seeing is that AI, especially generative AI, is able to get context, is able to create stuff that is unbelievable, that will surprise you. And if you haven't, you must see some of those videos. So the middle path is that AI is here to stay. It's here to transform, and maybe the corollary that I have is that some centuries ago, when writing and learning was only kind of meant for a few high priests, and mostly people couldn't learn, or didn't know how to learn or read or write, what would have been the world then? That people were scared of either saying, okay, what will happen if everyone is able to learn and write? And secondly, people who didn't want to just said, okay, how does my day life change if I'm able to learn and write? But the real development in the world happened when mass of the world could kind of transfer knowledge, gain knowledge, and use it in the workplace. So I think it's going to be very similar with AI. Now, fundamentally, because it's so vast, I'll just tell you how we are dealing with it. And that's why I kind of kept the topic as the one mentioned here, which is inspire, innovate, and integrate. So I think what AI does is, it gives us the unique ability to not just inspire consumers, but to inspire our teams. There are a lot of marketing problems that we aren't able to solve, or humans are not able to solve. For example, I don't know whether you've seen the ad of the sneaker company, where they define running routes basis the social post of the consumer. Similarly for us, for a travel company, each one of you sitting here will have a very different dream destination. For some, it would be maybe Shimla. For others, it might just be Mexico. And we're a large we're a large data business. We have 60 million unique consumers who come to us on a quarter. We get around 3 million searches a day. So our ability to kind of work with this data and figure out who this person is, what's this person searching for, what's inspiring for us, unless we use deep AI and machine learning, it's very, very difficult. So just to inspire people to travel or talk to them in a context that they understand and they enjoy, it becomes imperative for us to kind of use algorithms to learn more, to understand the kind of profile this guy has, the kind of actions does he take, when does he actually convert. But what generative AI now enables us to also show him content in a contextual manner. What would it take for us to show 60 million different people, 60 million different search pages defined on what this guy was looking for? So it's just not about inspiring the consumer, it's also about inspiring our own teams and saying, okay, things can be done better. We can start thinking about doing those things which might just look impossible in a year back. The other big thing for us is how do we personalize at scale? And again, personalization for scale means that how do we ensure that 60 million people are shown 60 million different things so that they get actually inspired to travel, inspired to book. Again, these things fundamentally, humans can do it, but then you would need an army of humans to do it. What generative AI and deep AI and machine learning can do is they can make these jobs easier for you to kind of implement. They can make it less costly, like the point that Rohit was making. And hence, the way to think about AI is not that it's something sitting in parallel. As marketers, we need to think about use cases that we are not able to solve for in the current realm of things, and then can we use these modern tools or generative AI to solve them at a mass level. Similarly, for example, one of the tasks that we have at Make My Trip is to recruit the next level of consumer, the Bharat consumer. He might not be as comfortable with text, he might not be as comfortable with English language, and hence we need both voice and vernacular to solve for it. Now, building a vernacular platform per se can be extremely daunting. And again, generative AI can come to help there. With generative AI, we've actually now built a booking tool which is voice enabled and has vernacular and has multiple languages, Indian languages that can operate on it. Similarly, I think Rohit, your entire session, he's isn't here, but yeah, he's here. Okay. So Rohit's entire session was that how do you optimize? Again, optimization has, for example, if you are if you're a tech company like us, you're speaking to the consumer using multiple ad routes. There can be display advertisement, there's TV advertisement, there is Google search, then you spend on products like UAC. But what's happening is the same consumer is getting multiple brand signals on multiple channels. And hence your ability to kind of see what the real frequency is. Like in traditional word, Vishal will know, and I've worked with Vishal in the past, that there's frequency capping. After some frequency, any ad you see is decaying. But now in a multiple channel world, you are showing him maybe five ads on SEO, you are kind of buying his, you're buying search at SEM, then you're showing him ads on YouTube, then you're going on TV. So you actually do not know how many times have you targeted the consumer, and secondly, you haven't been consistent because you've been true to the channel. And as marketers, it's very important to understand that both the context, irrespective of the channel, and the frequency capping needs to be maintained. And again, these things are possible if we kind of use the power of AI and ensure that just not from saving cost, but to ensure that we always remain contextual to the consumer, can be done. Some of the examples that I want to talk about, some of the things that we have done here. First, we've kind of, like I spoke about, we made booking for Bharat easier by enabling through voice, by ensuring that using generative AI, we have a voice-enabled chatbot. Then, how do you be true to the consumer? Like a consumer who's on journey, who's going to Amritsar for religious purposes, how do you identify that and give him content basis his context? And there might be another consumer like me for whom Amritsar is home. So I'm not really going there for a religious travel, I just want to go and come back. So how do you understand context in the journey better, and how do you then give him context, content which is contextual? And finally, if you have to kind of embark in this journey, which you should, you have to also ensure your organization's preparedness to do this. Like today, for people who run marketing in your companies, you would have team members who would be using AI. Like in Gurgaon, the famous term is BYOB. There's a term called bring your own AI at work. So what people are doing is they're kind of using their own contextual products to kind of help them at work. What it tells me basically is that A, there is a general need for AI because people are using it, it is getting democratized. What organizations are not doing is that they aren't making it enterprise in nature. And that's something that needs to be driven top up. We have to ensure that our tech stacks, our marketing stacks are ready for the future. For me, to my team, I said that, by the way, we had a fantastic year at Make My Trip last year. But what I keep on saying is that whatever worked last year will not work this year. So we have to keep on reinventing the playbook. And I'll just give you one small example that when we started thinking about revamping our playbook for this year, what we understood is that our marketing tech stacks weren't ready. So right now we are doing a lot of input on building that. So if you're a marketing person and you lead marketing in your company, you should definitely see that your stack's readiness to kind of go for the future. And finally, the secret sauce is that at least the secret sauce for me personally is that you can't think about AI as like a competitor. You have to think about AI as your co-pilot, co-worker, assistant. Basically, you have an Einstein locked somewhere, unlock it and use it to the full potential. Thanks, that was my short talk. I'm happy if you want to ask something else.
So Make My Trip, of course, thrives on data. There is so much of data collection that happens at your end. And I do understand that AI plays an important role to kind of translate into usable and to, create some great campaigns as well. What kind of CDP that you use? And do you also use AI to enrich your database? Because not every time that, you have the right or the complete information for a particular profile.
Sure.
So that's question number one. I have a few more. Second, do you use AI to work on your strategies to combat competition? Because like you said, there might be other brands kind of using maybe, similar strategies. So anything on AI that helps you strategize? So there's one more, sir. I made notes. Then for your retargeting of your campaigns, you talked about that after some time a creative can decay. Do you also provide similar insights to brands like us who work with you, because we also advertise on your platform? And is there a way that we can work with MMT and understand how to utilize AI when we are looking at advertising on your platform?
Sure. No, these are great questions, Isha. I got the name right, Isha? Isha, let me answer the third part because I think that's the easiest one to answer. The answer is absolutely yes. I think we are a platform and you are the content provider. In this case, and Leela provides some great content and great inspiration for consumers to travel. And our ad tech philosophy is very different to the general ad tech philosophy that gets followed. Is basically the consumer needs to win, because if the consumer is not getting inspired by seeing Leela and it's not actually booking and you're not seeing ROAS, then it becomes a monetization opportunity, and monetization opportunities actually fail in the long term. So that we're very, very clear of that when you choose to advertise on us, we show it contextually to the right consumer and not like a broad-based consumer. Also, we make it contextual that we know that this guy has the propensity to spend on leisure, and hence your conversions and hence the consumer meets the brand. So that's the first principle on which we operate the ad tech business on. On the first question, do we enrich data, Isha? Frankly, no, because the advantage that we have is that roughly in India, there are 60 million households that kind of have the propensity to travel and propensity to spend on travel. I mean, the number of households that earn more than $10,000 a year is that number roundabout. These 60 million households actually have a huge impression on Make My Trip because they would have, and we've been around for 20 years. And so we have enough aggregated knowledge on this consumer to form an opinion whether what kind of income bracket, what inspires him, where does he travel, what is his leisure travel trends. So I think we're quite self-sufficient and reliant on data, on internal data. Also, while privacy and all is very important from a governance point of view, but also privacy is very important from your trust with the consumer point of view. I mean, forget the lay of land. So again, we are extremely careful of not sharing our data or not enriching our data through third party as of now because of these two reasons. And hence, but because of 20 years of existence, because of this, our ability to we kind of invested in AI far ahead of the curve. So we have a very decent understanding on consumer profiles, and a lot of our marketing is targeted by keeping that in mind and without getting too intrusive. On the second question, like the way we think about marketing right now is that we for India we maybe are the first party data holders on travel. So how do we ensure that this guy completes his booking? And for example, a person would come to book a flight ticket from Delhi to Bombay and then a return ticket a day after. So our ability to identify that this guy has come and booked a round trip, but he also needs the hotel. And then from his past behavior, does he stay in Bandra? Does he stay in Andheri? How do we contextually give him the right hotel properties in the area that he's he has high probability to stay. So I think most of this is about completing the journey and inspiring the top funnel.
Thank you.
Thanks.